It has now been more than 100 days since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine. While the stalemate in the east of the country remains, with the battle of attrition now playing out, the knock-on effect of the war on Ukraine's economy has been devastating. In October 2021, amid Russia's gradual buildup of troops at Ukraine's border, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, had estimated that the country's per capita GDP would grow by 3.6% in 2022. But in a report released in April in light of the war, the World Bank estimated that the war could shrink Ukraine's economy by 45%, while the report also estimated Russia's economy to contract by 11.1%. Domestic estimates from Ukraine's Ministry of Economy and the Kiev School of Economics put current economic losses between $564 billion and $600 billion, or nearly 4 times the country's annual GDP. Anna Bearde, World Bank Vice President for the Europe and Central Asia region, said the following in the report. The magnitude of the humanitarian crisis unleashed by the war is staggering. The Russian invasion is delivering a massive blow to Ukraine's economy, and it has inflicted enormous damage to infrastructure. Ukraine needs massive financial support immediately as it struggles to keep its economy going and the government running to support Ukrainian citizens who are suffering and coping with an extreme situation. Apart from the GDP crashing in Ukraine, inflation and interest rates have also arisen because of the war. As cited by the Financial Times, the latest data on consumer inflation from the National Bank of Ukraine shows that the rate stands at 17% for the month of May 2022, a continued increase from 16.4% in April, 13.7% in March, 10.7% in February prior to the war. In an urgent step to tackle this spiraling inflation, the central bank announced changes to interest rates Thursday. NBU Governor Kirilo Shevchenko declared that the central bank raised its benchmark lending rate from 10% to 25%, first increase since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in late February. This move will make borrowing extremely expensive in an already demand-depleted economy, taking borrowing costs to their highest level in Europe, and the highest in Ukraine since September 2015. When Ukraine's economy was reeling from Russia's annexation of Crimea. Explaining the massive rate hike, the National Bank of Ukraine said a smaller rise would have had no significant influence on the financial and economic system during wartime because of the likely limited effect on asset prices. They further added a small rate hike would also deter investors and make depositors take a wait-and-see approach. Globally, the war in Ukraine is going to have larger impacts on recovery cycles from the shocks of the pandemic. In April, the World Trade Organization announced that the war could lower global GDP growth by as much as 1.3% this year and cut global trade growth from 4.7% to between 2.4% and 3%. So what are any prospects of Ukraine's economic future? According to the Wall Street Journal, Ukraine Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal had said in late April that his country needs $5 billion per month in budgetary support until at least September, as well as an overall $600 billion for rebuilding efforts. Despite the importance of mineral commodities and industrial centers, Ukraine primarily remains an agrarian economy, labeled Europe's breadbasket and among the world's largest exporters of wheat, before its supply chains, such as the port of Odessa, were brought to a screeching halt by blockades imposed by Russia during the war. Major importer Egypt was among the countries hit hard as a consequence of the war, and since February have sought alternatives to Ukraine and Russia for wheat. For ThePrint, this is Raghav Bikhchandani. Content co-written and researched by Suchet Vir Singh. For more, log on to theprint.in and follow us on social media.